Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at KLeagueUnited with any questions, comments or reactions. Or follow us on Facebook to ask directly during one of our live shows.
Hello, 안녕하세요. Ryan Walters along with Matthew Binns at Suwon World Cup Stadium. So used to saying Seoul World Cup Stadium this year. Finally made the trip down here for the third and final super match of the season. And, well, I think it lived up to the name for the Suwon fans today.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from Suwon today, I have to say. They looked organised in midfield. I think they really went for this game. They seem to be well aware of the danger they're in, whereas FC Seoul... Well, we're going to get onto them in a minute, but they are definitely a bit lackluster, let's say.
Well, you know, we talked about this during the game, and Paul and I were fortunate enough to call the game last week, and I couldn't help but mention it on the broadcast itself that last week's game ended with a back pass. Seoul had a last chance, like they had a minute of stoppage time. They had to score to stay in the top half, and the game ended with a back pass because there just wasn't enough urgency there. And that carried through today. They just didn't seem to have any urgency out there.
No, they didn't. I think the only player that really stood out for me today for Seoul, anyway, was Han Sung-kyu. Now, he had the best chances, I'd say, except obviously the goal that we'll get onto in a minute that Seoul did score. But Han Sung-kyu looked like the only the player fighting for everything. He was arguing. I mean, he did get into a few confrontations as well. But
that's what you want to see in a rivalry game.
Well, he's trying to get the players fired up, and the thing is, it's not his team. He's a loanee. He's going back to John Book at the end of the season. But you wouldn't have thought that. You would have thought that he was the one who had been brought through the Seoul Academy and was some local boy done good. And he was really going for it. And I feel like if Seoul don't try to make his signing permanent in the off season, then they are certainly missing a trick there. I mean, I mean, based on some of his performances this season, I wouldn't mind him back at John Book, but I mean, that's not going to happen. Sure. I don't think.
I think he was the standout last time. He had an individual moment of brilliance to get the win the last time these two sides met, and Adam Taggart had multiple moments of brilliance today. It looked to be a hat trick, but his second goal ended up being ruled as an own goal on Ko Kwang-min. But regardless, Adam Taggart of 2019 showed up today and was just on his game from the kick.
Yeah, he's been absent for a couple of games, partly through injury, but also partly, I think, there was the rumours as well about him potentially leaving the club. Well, started today, and it was definitely the right move. He opened the scoring with a fantastic goal. Ball came in from Kim Tae-hwan, I believe. It was just a low ball, kind of bounced up at him, but he bounced, turned, and struck it lovely shot straight into the top corner. And yeah, he just continued on from there. He was getting into good positions, and again, Suwon were creating well. I think it was one of the best performances I've seen from them this season. And the second goal, as we said, it went in as a Ko Kwang-min own goal in the end. It did look like he had claimed it.
As a striker should.
It went out everywhere that he had scored it initially before there was some backpedaling, and then and then his final goal. Well, yeah, he just tapped. It was
the final goal. I think that's more telling of Seoul. I mean, good on Tags getting in position there, but oh my goodness, was that easy? Yeah, that's just such an easy goal. He waltzes in there. The one, it was Adam Taggart that you left open. It's not some defender or somebody else. Like, the dude won the Golden Boot last year. He's already scored 1.5 goals in this one, really. And he's just wide open. Yang Han-bin, who was the standout performer for me for FC Seoul last week, one of the few bright spots. And, I'm tired of saying that for poor Yang Han-bin. Whenever Seoul's doing poorly, he's one of the few bright spots. But I thought he was all right today, but he's got no chance on that third one for Suwon there. And again, how on earth are you letting Adam Taggart, of all people, get that wide open if you're FC Seoul? And it's like we said at the beginning, do they even care right now? Because it's not showing on the field.
No, it's certainly not. We did actually mention it on the podcast where I was saying that I don't know how Gangwon and FC Seoul are going to cope with not making it into the top half. Since that podcast went out, FC Seoul manager Kim Ho-young, caretaker manager, he did resign, did step down on Thursday, so they have another caretaker manager in today, Park Hyuk-sun, taking charge today for Seoul. And
3 super matches, 3 managers for FC Seoul.
It turned, Park Hang-seu's only taken over a few weeks ago for Suwon Bluewings, has managed the most super matches this year.
Yeesh.
But they just don't look like they care. They just, I mean, I'm sure the players would disagree, but they just don't have that urgency. They've got nothing really to fight for. I mean, they could get dragged into the relegation fight. I think it's too far for them to get.
I think it's a little too far for that. Yeah,
but it's worrying for the rest of those in the relegation. Because they've got Incheon last game of the season. If Seoul aren't caring, that's worrying news for Busan, because Incheon will be fired up on that final game. And
I mean, speaking of Busan, heaps of pressure on them tomorrow with Suwon coming out and putting 3 past Seoul. Again, Seoul's conceded a lot this year, so maybe not a ton to read into that, but Suwon's awake. Suwon does not want to get relegated, and they've given themselves some breathing room there. Incheon, they'll face an Incheon next week, but Incheon, it's not necessarily a must win tomorrow for them, but they definitely are going to feel that pressure. And Busan,
well, I mean, I think credit should go to Suwon's manager. I think
absolutely
is 4th game today, the 2nd win, 2 wins on the bounce now for Suwon. I mean, they showed a lot of fight against Gangwon last week. They came back from a goal down with 2 late goals to win it there. He's put the fire in them a little bit, and I think it's shown on the pitch today. It was really well organised. I think fully deserved 3 points there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, I think they were the better side throughout. And for Seoul, they still need a striker. They still need somebody that can be that difference maker. We saw Adam Taggart do it for Suwon today. Han Seung-gyu can do that from the midfield, but you can't depend on a midfielder to be doing that all the time. And again, I think they just need to do something with the speed that they have. They have Kim Jin-ya, but he's not in there from the start, so they're not stretching teams that way. Choi Young-uk didn't have his best match today. Yoon Jung-gyu we saw him, he lost the ball on the sideline 3 or 4 times. So for Seoul, lots to improve on. I mean, maybe they won't get dragged into the relegation battle, but a lot of these guys should be fighting for their spots on the team next year, to be honest.
Certainly. And it's also promising for Suwon, who will still be in ACL after this. FC Seoul will be in ACL, but
I don't think they're looking forward to that.
Not for long, based on today's performances. But if Suwon can get themselves fired up, they can avoid relegation, then they'll be coming into that competition with a bit of good form behind them. And if Adam Taggart's finding the goals again, then who knows what can happen in that group. They've got 2 losses to open with, but there's still 4 games left to play. And,
well, we've seen this before, where the relegation battle, being in final round B, can actually be a boost for a team. We saw this with Suwon in the FA Cup battle. We've seen this with Kim Shin-wook winning the Golden Boot way back in 2015, which was the last time that Suwon got a league win over FC Seoul. That's how long ago it was. But we've seen this half of the table be a benefit for teams that will finish 7th or 8th or somewhere around there. And like you say, I think that's a really good point for Suwon to be battling it out and getting ready for ACL, which is coming up soon, we hope.
Mid-November. End of November. Depends.
Just had one question come in from Dan Croydon asking, are Suwon safe? I think if next week goes their way, we can say that. But if Incheon beats them head-to-head next week, that'll be a very different tale.
Let's see. It's the first game of the split, but I mean, based on their performance at the end last week as well, then you'd think that if they can continue this, then they aren't the ones that should be worried. I think Busan.
I think even a draw next week against Incheon and Suwon will be fine. And like you say, Busan, based on form, that's the other thing when it comes to Suwon. Based on form, I think they're fine.
Yes,
I think they're going to be fine based on their past 2-3 games. Their past 2 games alone. They came back against Gangwon, and then they came out here today. They don't usually perform that well at home. They don't perform well against Seoul, and they did.
Well, if you put Suwon into almost like a cup final situation, they'll always perform. Suwon a renowned cup team. I know this obviously in the cup, but if you give them those kind of matches where it's do or die, they'll always try and find the way to the fore and get the 3 points.
Yeah, and so they did today, and I am going to get out of here because I'm going to make the short walk over to Suwon FC versus Seoul Elan, the superior match, as we call it, for K-League 2. And Matthew's going to go off into this sunny afternoon. But if you have any questions, comments, reactions, get those into the comments below, and we will get to them on this week's podcast. But for now, for Matthew Binns and my unawkward camera angle here, I'm Brian Walters. Thanks for watching.